Hi, I'm Nick Palmisciano.
And I'm Matt Finney.
And this is the Bad News Network. I'm going to kick off this week with my quarantine uncut hair and a little editorial observation. This week, former Vice President Joe Biden had an interview on ABC where he kind of lost his train of thought and said that when he becomes president, we're going to get some economic intercourse going. I don't care who you are, that's funny. I found it so funny that roughly 2 hours later, we had designed this shirt. And Wednesday night, we sent out a text message to some of our customers with a Photoshop picture of Joe Biden wearing this shirt. 99% of you thought it was funny, or at least didn't care. But then there was a nice split with the remaining 1%. About half of the people told us that we were worthless because we sent out a picture with Joe Biden in it. Mr. Biden, they assured us, was evil and was out to destroy the country. The other half of that 1% were super pissed that we made fun of Joe Biden. We, of course, were just playing into Trump's hands. Trump, they assured us, was evil and was trying to destroy the country. Now, I'm not saying you have to like the shirt. I'm not saying you have to think it's funny. I'm not saying you need to shop with us. And frankly, you obviously can do anything you want and you can leave and never talk to Ranger Up ever again. But if you can't even look at an obviously comedic picture of a politician who talked about economic freaking intercourse without getting all fired up, maybe reevaluate the way that you work through life. Pick the one of these guys that you like in November or someone else. But neither of these two gentlemen is your savior. Neither of these two guys is your God. They are both deeply flawed politicians. Both have been accused of nepotism. Both have been accused of sexual misconduct. Both want to spend way more money than we collect in tax revenue. Both want to use their power to infringe on state and personal rights. They just want to do it for different causes that you may or may not find important. But Nick, where's your Trump shirt? You made fun of Biden, but not Trump. Guys, if I had to do a Trump shirt every time he said something crazy, I'd have to make at least one shirt a day, and frankly, we just can't keep up with that kind of design work. There's a new Twitter gem today where he insulted basically every single anchor from every network, all in one tweet. It was spectacular, actually. I don't even know how he pulled it off. But here's the thing. I think this shirt covers both of them anyway. After all, we already know from Stormy Daniels that Trump is absolutely in favor of economic intercourse. Now quit being a bunch of Karens and calm down. Speaking of Karens, there's a movement right now going down in soccer mom land that wants to equate using the word Karen to the N-word. I mean, yeah, it's roughly the same thing. One of them is a joke to make fun of women that always complain about everything to the manager and make it a hard time for everybody. And the other one refers to 244 years of slavery and genocide, punctuated with another 101 years of separate but equal and Jim Crow laws that is still having an effect on an entire population of people today. So it's basically the same thing. God damn it, Karen. But other than that, identical.
Kim Jong Un. Is he alive? Is he dead? At this point, it's anyone's best guess. President Trump thinks the rumors are fake and that Kim is alive and well. Our intelligence sources say he's dead. Others say he's in a vegetative state. Then there's others who say he's alive but can't walk. But anyways, it's a safe bet that the rumors will continue to grow until their great leader either presents himself in public or there's a giant funeral in his honor. Until then, all bets are off. If he is dead, though, there's a good bet that his sister, Kim Yo-jong, is in line for the title. There's already an anime of her, and the state press handles her with kid gloves. So I'm looking forward to the continuation of an evil regime, albeit sexualized and a lot creepier.
Wendy's announced recently that it would be giving away free Chicken McNuggets on a specified date to help out customers that are having trouble during this coronavirus pandemic, with the caveat that it was one per customer. An Oregon man known only by his Twitter handle Squeezy Jibs decided to really test the limits of Wendy's by going to 11 different locations in the Vancouver and Portland area and then making the loop once more for a total of 22 trips for some free chicken nug-nugs. Squeezy stated on his Twitter post, "Times is tough, so when I heard that Wendy's was giving out free 4-piece nugs, I knew I had to hustle. It took me 5 hours, but now I eats for free." God bless you, sir. Some people say that you work the system, but there's only one man standing with hands full of nugs. Nug said.
Approximately 3 weeks ago, Universal Studios made the bold decision to put their feature film, Trolls World Tour, direct to on demand for $20. While other studios decided to delay feature film releases, Universal decided to release theirs while the quarantine was going on, figuring that families are probably sick of just looking at each other and watching coronavirus news. They took the bet that families would be willing to shell out the money to keep their kids occupied for the 90 minutes of the film. It turns out Universal was right. In 3 weeks, the film totaled $95 million, which is the same amount as the original release had in its entire theater release run. AMC Theaters immediately lashed out at Universal Studios, saying that it will no longer show any of their films. Money earned suggests that other studios will also try this tactic and release films straight to video on demand. Others say this is due to the fact that it's during quarantine, it's a family film sequel, and it has the melodious notes of Anna Kendrick and Justin Timberlake. Meanwhile, AMC says that it's the most important piece of the movie experience, and if they won't work with them, they won't work with you. It's almost as if the AMC theaters are owned by the Chinese corporation cooperating with the Chinese government. Oh wait, they are. In fact, this is our monthly reminder of how China now owns most of Hollywood. If you've noticed that there's almost no American values in Hollywood movies anymore, and there's at least one Chinese character that nobody knows but is a huge deal in Asia, that's no mistake. Anyways, get out there and support independent film.
You all remember General Michael Flynn, the guy that briefly served as President Trump's national security advisor before kind of getting involved with the Russians and being the catalyst that kicked off the entire Trump impeachment? Well, there's new information that's come to light that the president believes shows that Flynn was innocent and the Democrats believe shows nothing at all. Some FBI documents were recently released that had a handwritten note that said the following: "What is our goal? Truth admission, or to get him to lie so that we can prosecute him or get him fired?" The notes also show that investigators expected him to lie and mulled over how to handle it when he did. They went on to say, if we get him to admit to breaking the Logan Act, then we hand it over to the DOJ and let them decide how to proceed. The Logan Act prevents private citizens from interacting with foreign governments. The note continues, or if he initially lies, we present him with redacted, and he admits it, then we document it for the DOJ and turn it over to them to see how they want to proceed. But they added the caveat, if we're seen as playing games, the White House will be furious. They also discussed ahead of time whether or not they should let Flynn know that lying to the FBI would be a crime, something they ultimately decided not to do. So what does this all really mean? None of it changes the fact that Flynn, in fact, did lie to the FBI about his conversations with foreign operatives. But it does shoot serious holes in the FBI's, "Aw, shucks, fellas, we were just trying to play it straight the whole time" narrative. They thought the guy was guilty, and they were strategizing about the best way to f*** him right in the ear. They also do not seem particularly pro-Trump. The message in all of these notes was not, let's play it straight and get the right information. It was, how do we hide our games to get the result that we want? So my guess as to what all of this is going to actually mean, President Trump is a far better marketer than the entire Democratic Party combined. I think by the end of this, he's going to repeat over and over again that Flynn is innocent and that he got screwed. People will start believing it. And General Flynn is likely to get completely exonerated from this. And I wouldn't even be surprised if Trump tries to bring him back into the administration just for spite.
The Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported that 2 inmates drank cleaning supplies after the infamous President Trump speech. Gaylord Lopez, the head of the poison center who treated the 2 men, said that he couldn't comment on whether or not this was directly related to the President Trump speech. Lopez, bro, have you not seen Prison Break, Escape Plan, or any other escape movie? These guys faked it. You brought it, now they're probably gone. Check the inmates' bodies for full escape plan maps. Check their cells, check everywhere. Lopez, you've been played, my man. You've been played. Also, if you drink bleach, you're probably not smart and not helpful to the human race.
Speaking of people drinking things because President Trump talked about it, you remember that couple a few weeks back that drank the fish tank cleaner because the president talked about an anti-malaria drug that had a similar name? It turns out that several sources are reporting that there is a chance that his wife murdered him. Those sources are saying that police started investigating Gary Lanise's death as a homicide after some of his co-workers from the John Deere Waterloo factory started saying things like, "Really? He drank fish tank cleaner?" Gary's a pretty smart guy. He's been working on multi-million-dollar equipment as a mechanical engineer for 3 decades. That just doesn't sound right. In a super weird turn of events, I hadn't seen Gary Lanise's picture until this week, and turns out I'm about 99% sure that I went to a few meetings with him back in the 3 months when I worked in Waterloo, Iowa for John Deere. If I was more of a social media whore than I am, then I would make this all about me, tell you how sad I am, how I'm never gonna recover from this, and let you know that we need to pray for Gary. 1 like for every prayer. But I only remember him from some Six Sigma meetings, so I'm gonna pour one out for him tonight, but it's mostly because I like whiskey and not so much because of the 2 to 3 John Deere meetings that we shared. But wait! NBC just reported that the Mesa, Arizona police have not ruled it a homicide at this time, but instead have assigned a homicide detective because they always do so in unusual deaths. But they're also unwilling to say that it is not a homicide. So now we don't know if Gary and Wanda just made a big dumb mistake or if Wanda is in fact a Black Widow. But it seems like we're leaning more towards mistake than Black Widow, which would have made a much better story. Time will tell. What the media seems to agree on across all platforms, however, is that no matter what happened, it's all Trump's fault.
After being outed for taking PPP, the LA Lakers, the NBA franchise worth $4 billion, were shamed into giving back the $4.6 million that they took. The spirit of the PPP was to help small businesses continue and retain their employees for up to 2.5 months. In the plan, no employee's wage over $100,000 could be applicable to receive funds. I'm trying to picture the person in finance looking at the spreadsheet and saying, LeBron James, $37 million. Sure, mark him down as $100,000. Anthony Davis, $27 million. Cool. Put him down for 999,999.99. And so on down the roster. I get where the Lakers have fewer than 500 employees, but this is where the government gets lambasted for not taking care of small business. You know, the kind of businesses that don't have employees making in excess of $25 million. Most small businesses, in fact, struggle to pull in $50K per employee. But other big corporations have also received PPP. Some have also returned it in the case of Shake Shack and begrudgingly Roots Chris. Still, many others have not. Anyways, this is a case where journalism shaming actually worked.
Folks, if the boog kicks off, it's probably going to happen in Lansing, Michigan. People there are pretty pissed off at the way Governor Whitmer has handled the coronavirus, and you could hear chants all day of "lock her up," which is fairly unoriginal, and "Heil Whitner," which is offensive and original. The Michigan governor has been especially hardcore in her handling of the coronavirus, and it has ground their economy to a halt, which has pretty much increased tensions to a ridiculous level. Now, most news outlets have made it seem like these people charged the building, kicked in the doors, and scared the hell out of everyone in the House chamber, and that this was teetering on the edge of pandemonium. Not exactly the case. To the contrary, everybody in Michigan is allowed open carry, and they're allowed to open carry into the House chamber. In fact, it was so orderly that in order to walk into the House chamber, they had to get their temperature checked at the door to make sure they don't have coronavirus. Not exactly an unruly mob, but I have to admit, there are 2 things about this protest that really bother me. 1, why does everybody have glass that's like this long on their AR-15s that's good to like 1,000 meters on a weapon with an effective range of 550 meters? Furthermore, why even have anything other than slight magnification for things like from 200 to 300? It's an AR. After all, if this thing kicks off in Lansing, you're fighting door to door and street to street. You're not picking off a dude a half mile away. 2, I didn't get the memo on the Cryptek. I don't own any. Not a single stitch. So if the bug kicks off and I have to report to my local militia, I'll be in like jeans and a t-shirt. I will be the least cool guy in my local militia. Why did no one tell me?
This week, our biggest fears regarding the coronavirus happened. The first dog in the US may have tested positive for the coronavirus. In Ranger Up's backyard of Durham, no less. Winston the pug tested positive for coronavirus after getting tested when the family noticed that he was feeling sick for a while after the entire family had gotten coronavirus. I'm sorry, Winston, but it sounded like you got boned from the beginning, little guy. Luckily for Winston's family, they all recovered from the coronavirus, and Winston is expected to make a full recovery too, although he is expected to sue the family. Scientists and doctors, including Dr. Fauci, have all contested that there is no evidence that says that the coronavirus can be passed from humans to dogs. Winston said otherwise after a rough couple of weeks that he said flew by.
The Director of National Intelligence has announced that our intelligence community is officially investigating whether or not the coronavirus came from a lab in Wuhan, China. So that'll be good for international relations.
After another week of the continued pandemic, the applications for PPP continue to pour in. This week, there was one person, however, that stuck out to Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, who was applying for financial services. That person? Tupac Shakur. Apparently, after 26 years of pretending to be dead and not making music, the best way to start making money is to apply for government assistance. The governor made a statement saying that this is how fraud happens and this is something that they deal with. But it was later revealed that Tupac Shakur is actually a real person living in Kentucky. Tupac 2.0 reached out to the governor saying, "I'm actually a real person and I need help." To which the governor said, "I apologize, we'll help you out." They had to go through some back channels, but the governor mostly apologized and said it was just hard having all eyes on me. To which Tupac 2.0 responded, "I ain't a killer, but don't push me."
The Ministry of Health in Spain has reported its lowest number of deaths in months. That has prompted the ministry to allow children under 14 to go out into the streets and play. Children 13 and above are now allowed to run errands for their families. There's a set time for kids to be outside, which is the first time in weeks that anyone has been allowed to do this. Locals say that bikes and skateboards are allowed, but the parks are still closed. And apart from that, it's been a real pain in the ass.
In case you were wondering where all the good luck went with all this craziness going on during the pandemic, the answer is Colorado. A Colorado man who goes by the name of Joe B. won back-to-back million-dollar tickets using the same numbers. There's not much else to that story other than Joe be stealing all the luck.
NASA has just released a wave of innovative grants for the moon, one of which is to build a 1-kilometer telescope in a giant crater. This is twice the size of the biggest telescope on Earth and would allow scientists to examine the universe from an entirely different wavelength. The project would be built without human operators using entirely robots and rovers. The proposed site is on the dark side of the moon furthest from Earth. This would presumably eliminate radio interference from Earth and allow scientists to push further into space. NASA scientists say they are very excited to begin work on the Deathstar moon rover expedition program.
In other NASA news, the Artemis program is moving ahead with plans to get humans on the moon by 2024. Reports from NASA lay out plans for a future long-term presence on the moon. The Artemis base camp is set to be established and will support up to 4 astronauts for a week at a time. Camp will be accompanied by rovers, transports, and a mobile platform that can support life for up to 45 days outside of the base camp. From there, NASA plans to further exploration on the moon and use that as a jump-off point for missions to Mars.
And finally, in Florida Man news, police responded to a domestic violence call where Getro Gellin allegedly pushed a woman to the floor and then threatened her with a gun. The victim then claimed that Gellin may have hid the weapon in his Porsche SUV. When police checked the vehicle, they found a bulletproof vest, a Glock, and a semi-automatic rifle. When questioned about the weapons, Gellin was cool as the other side of the cucumber when he told the coppers that he had recently sold the SUV to his cousin, John Wick. Perhaps you've heard of him. I guess when some people are under pressure, they shoot blanks. With that, I'm Nick Palmisano.
And I'm Matt Finney.
And this is the Bad News Network. Our news is at least as bad as the news you're getting already. And just remember, folks, practice your economic intercourse responsibly. And now it's time for the small business shout out.
Mock On Shooting LLC in Lake Haley, Wisconsin. Veteran owned.
Kestrel Coinworks in Highland Ranch, Colorado.
Net Health Direct Primary Care in Tacoma, Washington. Veteran owned.
Slow Burn Cigars and Lounge in Parker, Colorado.
Papa Joe's Italian Eatery in Gates, New York.
Thai Siam in Daleville, Alabama.
Bear Arms Wisconsin LLC in Highland, Wisconsin.
Gunsmoke Charters in Rock Hall, Maryland.
Rockin' BS Landed Mules in Big Mules Creed, Colorado.
The Firing Pin Gun Shop in Niles, Missouri.
Cueveto Fitness in Murrieta, California. Veteran owned and operated.
Aquatic Equipment and Design in Eustis, Florida.
Redbeard Coffee in Dodge City, Kansas.
Midgard Strength and Conditioning in Milford, New Hampshire.
Aunt Mimi's Farmhouse Kitchen in Redfield, South Dakota.
Asco Processing in Seattle, Washington.
5-0 Skate Shop in Fort Mill, South Carolina. Veteran owned and operated.
Fallout Shelter Ministry and Martial Arts in Watertown, South Dakota.
Bike Doctor in Juneau, Alaska. Veteran owned and operated.
Towner Inc. in Olaf, Kansas.
The Sushi Joint in Camas, Washington.
The Shop in Waxahachie, Texas.
Marcello's Pizza and Broadway Cafe in Cassopolis, Michigan.
The Squeeze in Sunbury, Pennsylvania.
Broadway Army-Navy Store in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Airport Self-Storage in Moon Township, Pennsylvania.
Martinelli's Little Italy in Salina, Kansas.
Beard and Brew in Riverside, California.
Rapture Guns and Knives in Lakeland, Florida.
Daredevil Hall in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Tessellate Executive Transportation in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Veteran owned and operated.
Snooty's Barbecue in Sandusky, Ohio.
Engine and Equipment Service in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Fuego Smoke and Vape in Leesburg, Florida.
Mazzini's Italian Restaurant in Elkin, North Carolina.
Yellowstone Air Service in Livingston, Montana.
Operation Steel Rain in Pulaski, New York. Veteran owned and operated.
Dan's Kitchen in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin.
Blue Ribbon Auto Service in Waldorf, Maryland.
Ye Old Brothers Brewery in Navori, Florida.
Santan Tactical in Chandler, Arizona.
Eagle Action Sports Paintball in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Veteran owned and operated.
Pitbull Leatherwork Company in Copetes Cove, Tejas. Veteran owned and operated.
CMC Triggers in Fort Worth, Texas. And finally, Peter Welch's Gym in South Boston, Massachusetts. It's where I grew up and cut my teeth, and how I became the boxer that I am today. I owe it all to Peter Welch.